put her in your picture, Aaron.
No.
Huh?
Yeah, I need a real actress.
Well, let her read, you'll see.
Who handles it?
Peter Rose. Rose and Max. Only deal with Peter in the first place.
Why? What's up?
I'll tell you another time. Nice to see you, Aaron.
Yeah.
The object of their attention there on roller skates was Mariel Hemingway as the late Playboy model Dorothy Stratton, enjoying one of the happier moments from her short, tragic life. It's in a scene from Star 80, one of 4 new movies we'll be reviewing on this edition of Sneak Previews. I'm Jeffrey Lyons.
And I'm Neil Gabler. In addition to Star 80, which I'm still numb from, we'll have an interview with the film star Mariel Hemingway. And we'll review Going Berserk, a crazy new comedy featuring 3 stars from SCTV. And Cross Creek, a drama with Mary Steenburgen as writer Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings. But Jeffrey will start with Testament, a disturbing new film about the after effects of nuclear war.
Well, Testament is the new movie about a subject nobody wants to contemplate for very long, the end of the world. It's set in a small California town near San Francisco. America's major cities have been leveled by a nuclear holocaust. And Testament focuses on one family and how, one by one, they learn to cope with the inevitable. Day by day, slow death from radiation. In this scene, the mother of the family, played by Jane Alexander, tries to comfort her youngest child, who is, alas, old enough to understand what's happening and that he'll soon die. The little boy had just run away from home.
Carol, I think you better come with me.
What's the matter?
Said he was running away. I tried to stop him, but he wouldn't let me.
Hey there, little man.
Where did you come from?
Oh, I don't know. What are you doing?
My treasure.
Bottom drawer?
There's not enough food for them anymore. I'm running away. I hate fighting.
You've been known to get in a few yourself, stubborn man.
No more.
Where will you go?
Maybe I'll find Dad.
If you did, what would you do?
I can't know. You tell me.
Well, you could see the mountains and rivers. You could see the cities. You could come back here.
Would I be scared there, too?
We're all scared a little now and then.
I don't like it.
I don't either.
At all.
I know.
Tell it to go away.
I can't.
Later, with the radiation fallout already taking a heavy toll on the small town, the daughter in the family has an intimate talk with her mother about one of life's most beautiful experiences, which she knows she'll never live long enough to enjoy.
What's it like?
What's what like?
Making love. Don't play mother with me.
I am. What's it like? I was so ignorant as a girl. Worried about it. So full of fantasy. I thought some man would come along and sweep me off my feet. And your father, he wasn't at all what I was looking for. Not the size or shape, or what he did exactly, I still don't know. When you love someone, you want to be as close to them as you can get. You make love and you feel almost like the same body. Like it was intended. You have a space and that person fills it up. We would fight. We wouldn't listen to each other. We'd miss thoughts. We'd miss goodbyes. But sometimes, most times, there was this feeling, and I couldn't wait for him to be here with me. Everyone's always alone, and yet there can be this gift, this making of miracles. You.
Not for me.
It's a very touching, intimate scene there, isn't it? Testament is a thought-provoking, incisive, deeply moving film, yet even though you might imagine it will be relentlessly depressing, somehow it isn't. Probably because Testament reduces global Armageddon to individual human terms. You believe the world will end soon because you see lifelike people reacting in little ways you and I might react. There are no phony heroics nor pious sentiments here. No, Testament lets events and people speak for themselves. And in the process, the actual unthinkable thought of nuclear disaster becomes frighteningly real and terrifying. Sure, it's heavy stuff. Sure, it's anything but cheerful. But with its exceptional performances and intelligent direction by Lynn Littman, Testament is one of the better films of the year. It's a sobering, draining, unforgettable experience.
I agree with you. It's a very powerful film. I disagree with you, however, when you say that it's not relentlessly depressing. I think it is relentlessly depressing, but if you're not going to get depressed over this subject, the prospect of the end of mankind, then what are you going to get depressed over?
No, I was hopeful in this picture. This picture said to me that life has to go on as long as possible. She was making the bed in that movie, doing the ordinary things. There is a horrifying moment when Jane Alexander at one point throws her arms up in frustration saying, who did this? Who did this? But you never see death. You see life going on.
Well, you do see death.
You see
little by little, you see
but you don't
mankind ebbing away by attrition. And I think that's very powerful because you see it on an individual level. And I think it's also powerful, at least for me, that the film is made with such obvious sincerity. It's acted with such obvious sincerity that you feel it as you watch the movie.
But there is a bit of hope through this picture that we are all going to, if we all go through this, life will go on as long as possible. That's the spirit of this picture that really got to me.
But there's nothing wrong with being disturbed and devastated by a movie. I mean, some people, I think, may accuse this film of being manipulative and have cheap emotions, but I think it is manipulative, but it's extremely powerful in the way it manipulates us.
I think it's a wonderful film.
Well, now let's move from one tragedy to another. Our next film is called Going Berserk, and it stars John Candy, Joe Flaherty, and Eugene Levy, all of the Second City TV program. But Second City TV was a comedy show, and Going Berserk is only a limp attempt at comedy. John Candy plays a hapless limousine driver who's engaged to marry the daughter of a rich congressman. And in this scene, Candy has been invited to his fiancee's mansion, but the girl's grandmother doesn't approve.
You're fat. My husband was fat. He's dead now. You must eat like a pig.
Pig. Yeah.
Cigarettes will kill you. My husband smoked, you know. He died from smoking too much.
I thought you said he died because he was fat.
He was fat with bad lungs.
Well, now, you've just seen half of all the funny scenes in this movie. And later, a group of religious fanatics who are being investigated by Candy's future father-in-law, the congressman, kidnap Candy and brainwash him. Now, I've heard that the director of Going Berserk, comedian David Steinberg, is fighting it out with the producers over who should take the blame for this movie. What they ought to do is reconvene the Nuremberg war crimes trial. Going Berserk is pretty awful. It's got a talented cast, but it doesn't have any script. The entire film looks and sounds as if it's being made up as they go along, and even if the gags had been funny to start with, which they aren't polished and perfected. It's like watching something whipped up by a group of drunken fraternity boys. It's crudely made, it's sloppy, and And worst of all, it's only got about 2 funny lines. Going Berserk goes right into the dumper.
Worst of all, if a bit is not working in this picture, they stay with it. You see characters going on and on with the bit. It's like, you know, SCTV was a taped show. I'm sure a lot of it wound up on the floor, as happens with any good program. And they didn't do that here. They just said, we've got 20 minutes to film, whatever comes out, and it's just loud. It's also loud.
Well, I think once they signed the cast, I mean, this is one of those movies where they signed the cast, and then they didn't worry. They just said, we'll put them in front of the camera, and let's see what happens. They didn't provide a script for them, and it shows. Does it show?
I'd rather see a David Steinberg concert film, a stand-up comedy film than this. Well, let's go on to our next film. Our next movie is Cross Creek. Now, it's based on the memoir of noted author Marjorie Kinnanen Rawlins. In 1928, she left her life as a New York newspaper reporter and suddenly moved to a rural Florida bayou called Cross Creek. She thought that by isolating herself down there in the middle of nowhere, she could write what she hoped would be the great American novel. Mary Steenburgen plays the writer, and in this scene, she's adjusted to her new surroundings. She's settled in, become part of the local community. Now, it's the morning after a stormy night during which she had shot a trespassing pig belonging to her corn-pone neighbor, wonderfully played by Rip Torn. He's come by to settle accounts.
What can I do for you, Mr. Turner?
Somebody shot my pig.
This is serious, Marjorie.
I'd just like to know who.
I shot your pig. It tormented me, and I shot it.
That was my pig, Miss Rawls.
No, that was my pig. You gave that pig to me. You said that if they trespassed, they were mine.
What kind of woman shoot a hog in the middle of a storm? And what you told me?
Was it a good shot?
No, ma'am, it was not. I had to finish it off myself.
Mr. Turner, would you lower your voice, please? Won't you join me?
Won't get no riding done if you're entertaining all morning.
Well, thank you, Colonel.
You're certainly welcome.
I'll pay for your pig, but he was an outlaw.
It's practically a pet. You can catch it with your bare hands.
Oh, I wouldn't have had the pleasure of shooting it.
Well, later, she tells the new man in her life, the local hotel operator, portrayed by Peter Coyote, that she's finally decided to write a novel about a subject she knows, the people of Cross Creek.
I'm writing a story about Tim and his wife. It's called Jacob's Ladder. It's something I care very much about. It won't be like anybody else's work. It'll come straight out of me. Do you understand? If this gets turned down, I have to face the fact that I wasn't meant to be a writer.
That sounds a little drastic, Marjorie.
No. This is my world, Cross Creek. The people here are richer than my imaginary governesses. If I can't write my own honest thoughts and feelings, then I'm no author.
You're gonna do just fine, Marjorie.
Well, Cross Creek is a gentle, frail movie, but too gentle and decent, in fact. A film about a writer writing, or a painter painting for that matter, risks being dull unless something pretty exciting happens while she's got pen in hand. But Marjorie Kinnanen Rawlins moved down to Cross Creek to get away from any excitement, so about all there is to hold our interest here is her budding romance, that pig which got shot, a feisty woman who works for her, and a runaway deer. Now, director Martin Ritt is an excellent filmmaker and has made some elegant, noble movies like Sounder, Norma Ray, and Conrack, as well as Hud and Hombre. But here, he seems to be concerned only with recreating the rustic tranquility of a tiny Florida town. A little less tranquility and a little more action would have sure helped, because pretty soon, Cross Creek will have you counting the horseflies on the lily pads trying to stay awake.
Yeah, this film is so serious, so proud of being serious and so modulated that it treats entertainment like a dirty word. Didn't you get that feeling?
It certainly does. We also never know really enough about why she changed her life. That was quite a drastic change to move from their jobs in New York all the way down there in the middle of nowhere, and that's a key failing in the picture.
But even if you do, again and again and again, the only purpose of this film seems to be to show how independent and courageous Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings was. But the problem is, it's hard to see the act of going down to Florida to write a novel as a great act of courage.
It looks more eccentric than courageous, and just not enough happens here.
And you don't care enough about her.
Right.
I think that's really the bottom line here, is I didn't really like the woman. I thought she was slumming among these poor farmers.
It reminded me of some outtakes from Conrack and Sounder, two wonderful pictures which I liked a lot more.
Well, let's move on. Our last film is Star 80, and it's the harrowing, true-life account of how and why 1980 Playboy Playmate of the Year, Dorothy Stratton, was murdered. Stratton, played by Mariel Hemingway, was a shy, naive teenager when she was swept off her feet by a fast-talking, small-time hustler named Paul Snyder. Snyder convinces her that he can make her a star, and he starts by pressuring her into posing for nude photographs that he sends to Playboy magazine. In this scene, Snyder begs Dorothy's mother to give her consent and let Dorothy go to California for an audition with Playboy chief Hugh Hefner.
She wants to go.
I'm slowly beginning to get the idea that you want her to go. That leaves me, her mother.
I know this could be a real opportunity for us. It could change our lives.
Is this us, our? I don't see any naked pictures of you here, Paul. I don't see any pictures of you with your privates hanging out for the whole world to look at.
Let's get the camera. I'm willing.
Oh, I bet you are. She wouldn't even walk around the house in a nightgown before she met you.
Do you know who reads Playboy?
No, tell me.
Movie producers, directors, agents, TV people. The people who produce Charlie's Angels read Playboy. I have this feeling about Dorothy, this hunch that she's going to be a big star. In the movies or on TV, I don't know, but a really big star. But she's going to need help. You can't do it alone. You need somebody.
And you're going to be that somebody.
I know all the tricks. I know all the con games. Hey, I know all the books. Plenty of that, believe me. Together, we could be somebody. People would know who we are. People would know our names. People would treat us that special way, the way they treat stars. People would, that way, walk into a restaurant, people... I do love her.
What did you say?
I said I love her.
Funny. I could have sworn you said I love it.
You don't like me, do you?
I love Dorothy. The answer's no.
Why? Give me a reason.
I don't have to give you a reason. I'm her mother. That's the reason. That's the reason.
That was Eric Roberts, and I think he's going to be a very strong contender for the Best Actor Oscar. Now, Snyder ignores Mrs. Stratton, forges her signature on Playboy's consent form, and sends Dorothy out to California anyway, not realizing that he's pushing Dorothy into a new world where he's not wanted. And here, out at the Playboy Mansion, Dorothy is welcomed by Hugh Hefner.
Wanting to have this talk with you for a while, but I guess we've been keeping you pretty busy.
I'll say.
Coffee for Miss Stratton.
Yes, sir.
Dorothy, it's going to take a couple of weeks or so to come to a decision on this thing, etc.
Oh, I understand. Thank you.
Have a seat. In the meantime, I imagine you could use some money.
Yes, I could.
I thought so. Anyway, our people thought we could fit you in as a bunny at our club at Century City. Tips are pretty good.
That'll be just fine.
And I'll see if I can't get them to find you a little apartment when you're waiting. Not too expensive. In the meantime, you can stay here if you like, in one of the guest rooms.
Well, I could look for an apartment myself.
No, we'll do all that for you. Anyway, I have a feeling it's all very temporary, Dorothy. I think there are very big things ahead for you.
I don't know about that, but I'll certainly try for you.
I know you will. Well, that just leaves my speech. Ready?
Yes, sir.
Playboy is a very special magazine, Dorothy. There's no other magazine like it. All the writers, editors, photographers, all the girls, etc. We all have a very special relationship. It's not like any other magazine. We're all like well, we're just like a family.
A family. It's like having a family.
The whole magazine is like having a family.
The whole magazine is like having a family.
I know a lot of people say that's a lot of bull, but that's how I think of it. That's how we all think of it. It's kind of a world within a world. It's a family.
And we all know you can buy Hef's family album each month on the newsstand. Now, I only think it's fair to warn you that Star 80, which I love, is not an enjoyable movie. It's not going to make you feel good. If you're like me, it's probably going to disturb and horrify you. Star 80 isn't really about Dorothy Stratton. It's about her husband, Paul, a pathetic loser who doesn't have enough flair to succeed in a world where style means everything. He's a terrifying creep, but Star 80 gets you inside his skin, understanding his outrage at the style-conscious snobs who exclude him. And that's largely because Eric Roberts, who plays Paul, is absolutely astonishing, full of menace and fury. Star 80 is a powerful look at a desperate victim of the American dream. You won't enjoy it, but I guarantee you're going to be shaken by it.
I walked out of this movie and I thought about it and I hated myself for thinking about it, and then a few days later more scenes kept coming back to me. It's like reading the details of a lurid murder which fascinates you despite yourself. That's why this picture played upon me.
This film is still rattling me. I still think about it. It sort of haunts me, and I think a lot of people are going to go to this film and absolutely hate it because they're not going to like the way the movie makes them feel. It makes you feel disturbed.
It's a Beauty and the Beast story. It's about growing up. It's about somebody who got into the fast lane and then didn't understand that if you can't move fast enough in that business, you're dropped off. And that's where the tragedy begins.
And the thing is, I think the reason, again, why people may try and put some distance between themselves and this movie is because Bob Fosse, who directed this film, who also directed Lenny and Cabaret and all that jazz, makes you identify with this maniac, Paul Snider, who we saw in the first clip.
And as he did in those earlier films, he shows both sides of the business, the glitter and the sleaze that goes with it. So you walk out of this film absolutely shattered.
And you resent the fact that he's made you identify with that character. You resent the fact that you have the same kinds of frustrations that this character has.
It's horrifying.
Well, I think Star 80 is going to stir plenty of controversy, but I can't imagine there's going to be much disagreement over the quality of the performances in the movie. Jeffrey spoke with one of the picture stars, Mariel Hemingway, and he asked her if she studied the real Dorothy Stratton.
I really didn't study her that closely. I tried to stay away from doing that. I feel as though I did the character as much as I could see from the script that I was reading, and from what knowledge I had of her, I felt I portrayed that as, and from what Bob wanted. Because, I mean, it really is a story. I really took it away from the idea. I had to, for my own sanity and for my own ability to do the role well, I had to not think of her as a having lived person.
Eric Roberts, as your husband in Star 80, is the incarnation of evil. Was it difficult working with somebody playing this kind of a horrible character?
It was it was difficult in the sense of, sure, yes, he does kill her and all that horrible stuff, but he also fell in love with her, and I think the relationship they had in Vancouver was very much, they fell in love, and he may have been evil, but I don't think he was somebody you didn't have sympathy for.
I love you, Dorothy. I love you so much.
I can give you $7,000.
Please come back to me.
It's half of everything I have.
Let's make it like it was before. Please?
I have some of it here with me.
Remember the ring I gave you?
Yes.
Still have it?
Yes.
I don't think I want to go on living without you. I bought a gun.
Oh, Paul. Things will change for you.
What, you mean maybe I'll grow up to be a big movie director? Or own a big magazine? Is that what you mean? Maybe then I could get you back. Is that what you're saying? Sit down.
Oh, he's chilling. It's a shattering film. Summarizing now our opinions on the movies we reviewed this week. We both like Testament, the compelling film about the effects of a nuclear holocaust on one family. It's sobering and shattering, so 2 enthusiastic yes votes. Neil and I agreed that SCTV's John Candy fails in the movie called Going Berserk. It's unfunny. Both Neil and I were quickly bored by Cross Creek, about a writer who moved from New York to rural Florida. It's about as exciting as watching weeds grow. So 2 no votes for Cross Creek. And finally, we agreed that Star 80, about slain Playboy model Dorothy Stratton, is one of the most powerful films of the year. And Eric Roberts' performance deserves an Oscar nomination. 2 yes votes.
Oh, I think that is one of the best films of the year, Star 80. Well, that's it for this week. Next week, we'll review 4 more new movies, including Nathan Hayes, an old-fashioned pirate adventure, and Terms of Endearment, a tender comedy drama with Shirley MacLaine and Deborah Winger as a mother and daughter. So until next week, save us the aisle seats.